The CRTC wants to know how radio, TV, and digital platforms in Canada can best meet the needs of Indigenous viewers, listeners, and content creators. Join the conversation today at crtc.gc.ca/indigenous-broadcasting.
A message from the Government of Canada.
Le CRTC veut savoir comment la radio, la télévision et les plateformes numériques au Canada peuvent mieux répondre aux besoins des spectateurs, auditeurs et créateurs de contenu autochtones. Joignez-vous à la conversation aujourd'hui au crtc.gc.ca/radiodiffusion-union autochtone.
Un message du gouvernement du Canada.
I'm Rick Harp. This is your APTN News Brief for Tuesday, May 21st. We begin in Alberta, where RCMP say they've linked the deaths of 4 young women in the mid-1970s to a man named Gary Srery, a serial sexual offender and killer who died in an Idaho prison in 2011. Superintendent David Hall is with the Alberta RCMP Serious Crimes Branch.
In February of 2023, with the assistance of Convergence Investigative Genetic Genealogy, the CPS Historical Homicide Team was able to develop the investigative hypothesis that Gary Srery was the likely culprit for these homicides. Collaborating with the RCMP, the National Forensic Laboratory, we facilitated the comparison of collected suspect DNA to that of Gary Srery and learned that the samples were a match.
The federal environment minister has issued an interim order to petrochemical companies based in Sarnia, Ontario, a move meant to reduce their release of toxic emissions into the surrounding area, one that includes residents of nearby Aamjiwnaang First Nation, who've complained about poor air quality for weeks. They blame higher than normal benzene levels from several area petrochemical plants. Benzene is linked to some forms of cancer. Federal Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault issued the interim order Friday. It requires companies to implement vapor control as well as venting measures to reduce benzene output levels. The 2-week order could be extended up to 2 years, pending approval by the Governor and Council. To southeast Ottawa, where plans are moving ahead to build a shelter for Inuit women and children. Last week, City Council approved a motion to transfer a vacant residential lot to the Ottawa Aboriginal Coalition. Some residents in the area voiced opposition to the proposal at a public meeting last month, claiming safety concerns. But local councillor Jessica Bradley supports the shelter's creation. Turning to the NWT, where a highly anticipated health facility in the capital city is set to open, Charlotte Moore-Jacobs reports.
Kliwagunti, meaning Skinny Fish Lake, is a massive retrofit of the former Territorial Hospital in Yellowknife, and it's gearing up to open this month. It will have extended housing and long-term care for residents, as well as primary care and outpatient rehabilitation services. Director of Continuing Care of the Northwest Territories Health and Social Services Authority, Lisa Raynar, says residents can bring their own furniture or use the basic furniture provided, and they are equipped with medical gases like oxygen. In total, there's 90 beds, 16 for extended care, increasing the capacity by 6 beds compared to the current unit at Stanton Territorial Hospital. The increase in beds should completely clear the wait list for extended care. A new feature, the 4 family rooms for residents from out of town who need a place to stay when visiting and or to be used when a loved one is dying, and families will cycle through.
It's things that we've heard in the past about if people try to come to visit, they only do it when they come for medical travel because then their accommodations and their travel's kind of covered. So if we can also have some people be able to afford to come and visit family members and try and facilitate visitation as much as possible.
Kliwagunti is complete with living and dining room areas where residents can choose what they want to eat. A spa room complete with a lift into tub and sink for washing and cutting hair. And common rooms like a spiritual room, an activity room, and outdoor patio space.
As I said, extended care residents currently don't have access to outdoors, and because we're up on a 2nd and 3rd floor, it's not easy access, so having the patios is a huge feature. We know how important the land is, being outdoors is to our Indigenous residents.
Raynar says they are implementing input from surveys across the north about the need for more country food.
If they wanted to, or if we get enough of a donation that our food service people could also prepare large quantities.
Lastly, the first floor is for public health needs, complete with a reception area, primary care units, and 36 exam rooms. Each room has a printer, scale, and height measurement tool, so staff will not have to leave the room for those tasks. It's also the first time rehabilitation services will fall under the same roof, including a physiotherapy gym, private treatment rooms, and sound booths, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, speech-language pathology, child development, and audiology. First floor services will move in this month. Early July, staff and patients from extended care will transfer over. And finally, long-term care once the waitlist is processed. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
And finally, the work of renowned Mi'kmaq artist Alan Syliboy is the subject of a 50-year retrospective in Halifax. Among its more striking pieces, a massive snake. With the details, Angel Moore.
Oh, yeah. That's what we've been talking about since we came, like the length especially. Yeah.
Aisha Mushtak and Shazia Awan came by to check out Alan Syliboy's art. Mushtak is talking about this snake that stretches across this wall. Syliboy painted it based on a petroglyph of a mythical horned snake.
At the time of the Mi'kmaq, we had lots of powers and magic, and I wanted to bring that magic back and the scale and everything with this large snake.
The mural is part of an exhibit at the Dalhousie Art Gallery called Alan Syliboy, The Journey So Far, a retrospective of Syliboy's 50-year career, starting from the early 1970s.
Well, this is amazing to be here because here's your whole, it's like if someone wrote a book, but this is like in a visual. This is a visual book or a record of what I was at a particular time. They're all snapshots of different periods of my life, different ages, and where I was.
Syliboy's work is inspired by Mi'kmaq petroglyphs, quill work, and oral traditions. He is a leader in contemporary art, representing Mi'kmaq culture. The exhibit shows the evolution of Syliboy's art over the decades. A children's book, video, a guitar, drums, and paintings, such as this piece called Standing on the Hill, inspired from a photograph taken in Ottawa in 2017 during Canada's 150th anniversary protests. Syliboy says his grandparents, Charlie and Rachel Marshall, encouraged him to become an artist.
My whole life inspired me, I think, to become an artist. You'd be very happy about the way my life and career has turned out.
Curator Pamela Edmonds says the exhibit is drawing record crowds.
So we've had over, well over 100 people in a few days. Many people that are coming in telling us about, oh, I have a drum, or I have a work of Alan's, or I used to buy his t-shirts. So many people's lives that he's touched with his work.
The gallery is located at the Dalhousie University Campus Art Center. Mushtak says the exhibit is a step towards reconciliation.
It's absolutely important and significant work to have it on campus. And I think it also shows university walking the talk on its commitment to inclusion and to Indigenous cultures, yes.
The snake will be painted over when the exhibit ends, but Mushtak says it should stay.
It's a good piece of art and also has that storytelling narration that the painter probably wants us to not just see, but also understand and have a deep connection with. So I absolutely think that some more time with the mural will be helpful.
The exhibit is open to the public till August 11th. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Jabuktuk, also known as Halifax.
And that's your APTN News Brief for Tuesday, May 21st. I'm Rick Harp.